Perfect. So this plant inside here is called the Camellia sinensis. This is pretty much the star of the show because most people, as I included, thought all the different types of tea that you can get come from all the different plants. It actually doesn't. It all comes from the Camellia sinensis. So from this plant you'll get your black teas, your green teas, your white teas and your oolong teas. The only tea you will not get is your herbal teas, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail as we gather around. And this plant, the Camellia sinensis, is an evergreen. It has small white flowers and it prefers acid soil and from anything to 80 to 90 inches of rainfall per year. And it can grow as high as 15 to 20 foot high, but because often in the tea plantations it is hand-picked, it likes to keep it at 3 foot, which is just the right level at height, and they take only the top 2 leaves and leaf buds off the plant, and it takes around 5 to 7 days for regrowth, so you can revisit that same tea plantation. And Twinings source from over 11,000 different tea estates as well, to make sure they get the best of the Camellia sinensis plant. Now our first tea blend that we are looking at here is the China Oolong. Now oolong in Mandarin Chinese is said to be dragon or twisted dragon, said to reflect the shape of the tea. This can be found in the Fujian province of southeast China, and if you ever go to an Asian restaurant and ask for tea, this is often the cup that they will be serving you. What was I going to say? So the oolong tea situates right in the middle of a scale where we have black tea at one end and green tea on the other. Now black tea is fully oxidized for the colour and the flavour, whereas green tea is only partially oxidized. Oolong tea sits right in the middle, and you can consider it to be like the rosé wine of teas if you like. It's only semi-oxidized, which means the amount of absorption of oxygen it allows in the leaves as well. So moving on from our China Oolong tea, we're going to move on to one of my favourites, which is English breakfast. Okay, so this is our English breakfast tea. This does come from the Camellia sinensis plant, which gives it the caffeine content. And the reason it's called English breakfast is it's best served at breakfast time, and the reason for this is the high caffeine content. But if you are looking for something with a very strong caffeine content, Irish breakfast is a little bit stronger than your English breakfast, if you're into that. And this is a black tea, so coming from the Camellia sinensis plant, it is fully oxidized for the colour and the flavour. However, it is an unflavoured black tea. Now if you just want it as a black tea, you can do, but we just recommend if you add a slice of lemon to the tea. But if you are having it served with milk, which is the way I have it, you can add a bit of extra sugar as well if you like sweet tea. But for me, I'm always sweet enough, so I just need a little bit of milk and it's perfect. So. And this as well, the Camellia sinensis plant for the English breakfast tea is grown in 3 different regions. We have Assam, Kenya and Ceylon. And the reason for this is, for instance, if you have an orange grown over in California or an orange over in Florida, they're going to be tasting very different. Similar with the plant, if you grow it in one region, it will be a little bit different to the other. So it's the perfect blend of those 3 regions to provide the English breakfast tea. Now this is also one of the part of the classics range that Twinings has, alongside Earl Grey, of which we're going to be looking at just now. It's just around the corner here. And the Earl Grey has that plant, but also it's flavoured with a bergamot fruit. Now bergamot is a pear-shaped citrus fruit found in the Mediterranean regions, and Earl Grey actually has a very fun story around it, because Charles II Earl Grey was Prime Minister at the time of England around the 1830s. Now he sent an envoy over to China, and this envoy did him such a good turn. I mean, details have been lost in history unfortunately, so he may have saved his life, may have just helped out with the dishes. Unfortunately we do not know, but we do know he did him such a good favour because he did return with the gift of tea. Now, tea being highly taxable was quite an honour, and Charles II Earl Grey loved this tea so much he actually began to run out of it. So he turned to his tea merchant at the time, Richard Twinings, and asked if he could match that tea blend, of which he did, and which is now how we have the Earl Grey tea. However, his wife at the time, called Lady Grey, she also was like, wait, if you're having your own tea blend, please can I have mine too, thank you. But she was very smart because she actually put a patent on her tea. So Lady Grey is actually exclusive to Twinings, that's why you won't see any other tea company selling it. But I still recommend trying the Earl Grey from Twinings, although other tea companies do provide it. Because they have been perfecting this blend now for over 2 centuries, you'd hope they get it right by now. So definitely please do still try the Earl Grey tea from Twinings. And just going over to the corner now to an exciting Earl Grey. It's a new one that they're launching. It's got a little bit of a modern twist because in the first few weeks, probably next week or 2 weeks time, it's actually going to be exclusive to Disney for the first few weeks before it's then available to the mass market in the US. So because Twinings have been producing Earl Grey tea now for 2 centuries, they felt it was time that, you know, you have a modern twist to a classic tea. So with the added ingredients of lavender, I think it's going to be a perfect tea to have, perhaps like when you just come in after work, because obviously the properties that lavender has, it's very calming, calms it, and it's going to, I think the aroma as well when you're brewing the tea is going to be just perfect for it. So it is still from the Camellia sinensis plant, so it has got caffeine, it has got the bergamot fruit, it's just the added addition of the lavender, which I think is going to be perfect. In addition to the Earl Grey with lavender, they will also be launching Earl Grey bold and Earl Grey with chamomile as well. So this is just constant process at Twinings are trying to create new blends to speak. We managed with over 300, but why not add a few more? So, excellent. So this is our black tea with a lemon twist. So Twinings have a great range of black tea lines. They blend with the perfect exotic spices and dried fruits. This one is made with freshly squeezed lemons. It's said to have a very vibrant and uplifting aroma to it and taste. And people tend to prefer this to have early morning if you like a fruity, you know, start to your day. Lemon twist is ideal for that. But if lemon isn't your cup of tea, we also have other lines. We have orange bliss, pomegranate delight, currant brie, and also a mint one as well. And they're all located in our tea candy store. If you have any problems locating them, please let me know. I'll let you know where they are. And it also does come from the Queen of Fruits plants that have got your caffeine. So we're actually going to move away now from our black teas to sort of the underworld of tea, if you like, is our herbal teas. So we're just going to move you over to our... Okay, excellent. So does anyone know what chai actually means? So chai actually means tea. So whenever you order chai tea, you're actually asking for tea. So fun little fact for you there. And does anyone know what the word masala means? Okay, masala also means spice. So this chai tea originates over in India, and they have a mixture called chai masala, which is spiced tea. And they would brew the big ceramic pot of tea leaves for several hours, and then started to notice it had a very bitter taste to it. So they'd add 4 main ingredients to help get rid of that bitter taste, which is the cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves. So nutmeg as well can be used, and it just helps get rid of that taste for you. Now this being our pumpkin spice chai, now when I first arrived here it was a very interesting one to see in the shelf. The reason for this is pumpkins back home aren't that much of a big deal as they are over here. I mean at Halloween we carve them and then you pretty much put them in the garden and you're done with it. But over here you've got pumpkin pie, you've got pumpkin spicy lattes, you have like muffins, I mean you name it, you've managed to fit in pumpkin there. And this is very much part of where the master tea blenders come into play. So as I mentioned, Stephen Twinings is one of them. They take 5 years to be trained to become a master tea blender, and they are trained in one particular blend of tea, so like black tea or green tea, and it takes 5 years to be trained in each. So if you train for 5 years in black tea and then want to switch over to chai, or your green tea, sorry, then you'll have to spend another 5 years to be trained in that. So they would have brought forward this idea of adding pumpkin to tea to these master tea blenders, and you can imagine they probably thought, what are you thinking? But research proved that it was popular, and it is actually very popular in our tea candy store here. We sell it, I think, pretty much all year round, and it always is coming off the shelf. There's no problem about that. And yes, it's a very popular one. And if you add milk to this tea, it said you're actually going to get a pumpkin pie in a cup of tea. But obviously, tea with half the calories, it only adds calories when you get your sugar and your milk in. You're laughing, really. I mean, you get a dessert and a cup of tea, and you still go for a nice little stroll without feeling guilty. So it's perfect. And moving on pie. So pumpkin pie is not your thing, but apple pie is. Then it's perfect for you. Also, just to leave you in the last few little facts for you. Over in the US, it is said that 80% of the tea consumed here is iced tea. Now, obviously, for us back home, that's a very bizarre concept because we have lots of hot brew tea, but it makes sense when you consider the weather. So the weather over here, since I've moved here, I'm now sampling a bit more of like the herbal teas or some of the cold brew iced tea, which we have in the tea candy store for you to try. And I've noticed it's very nice and refreshing. But back home, obviously, English breakfast is my absolute favourite. And the top 2 most consumed beverages in the world, number 1 is actually water, and the second is tea as well. So this does conclude the end of my tour. I hope you've learned something that perhaps you didn't know before you came, and thank you ever so much for staying with me. And because you've all been so wonderful, if you could please hand your time tags over to my lovely friend here, James. He's got a little treat for you just to say thank you for being